we're now coming up on what is basically the mid-season climax. Things have been going pretty smoothly for everyone so far, but that's all about to change. Hey everyone, David here, Director of Songs of War, bringing you the behind-the-scenes video for Episode 5. One of the main focuses of this episode was solidifying some of the characters and dynamics between characters. That's why the episodes have been a bit slow in the first half of the season, as we're kind of taking time to develop everyone a lot. We had to meet Luke and Nika, we had to build their bond a bit this episode, we learned more about Sen and Thalius' backstory, and have Abigail interact with a friend and learn a bit of truth about the Dragon Egg and the Ender Knights. We even learn more about Mr. Finch and Osivian, two characters who seemed pretty outwardly strict or mean, and it gives them a bit more balance and kind of reveals a little of their positive qualities. We don't just see the kind of negative things we'd seen before. Like Osivian raised Sen when not a single other clan wanted him, and Mr. Finch kind of helped raise and protect Abigail. I always feel like things like fight sequences or drama is never very exciting when you don't actually know or care about the characters. This is also the episode when I brought on new animators. When working on this series, I skipped episode 1 at first, but I animated episodes 2 through 4 pretty much entirely on my own, except for Skyfall helped with the Abigail versus Jalkar fight last episode. But after that, it was like half a year of those 3 episodes, probably even more actually if you consider the time I started earlier to start doing layout. And I realized that, if I was continuing at that rate, those 3 episodes that were relatively easy and didn't have that much fighting, it would be taking me, years to finish this thing. So I did some recruiting and brought on the animators to help out, which was a huge improvement for the series. The workflow was better, the animation was better, and I think we all enjoyed having kind of a team to work on it, that we could kind of work on it together. It's a little more exciting, and a lot more memes came out of it. The process was actually extremely streamlined and efficient for us. I would start by providing this basic layout, which would determine the pacing, the timing of dialogue, staging of characters, and the kind of general idea of what the camera shots would be. The animators then took this, along with a portion of the script from that scene, and were able to do all the kind of main animation on the characters. Once they're done, I take that and polish it up a little more to kind of make it a little more consistent with the rest of the animation. And then I'd continue with the remaining work, such as faces, visual effects, lighting, and all that other stuff. The episode opens similar to the scene in episode 4, where Lucan was hanging out by the fire, but this time it's a trap he set up with Nika to lure the Necromancer in. This is the first time we see Nika do a bit of fighting, and you can really start to see how everyone's fight styles differ. As a Felina, she's more agile and uses smaller, lightweight blades. Probably a good point to segue a little bit into the Songs of War weapons. You've probably been noticing all the custom weapons for Songs of War. This was something that I knew I wanted to get a little more custom weapons. If everyone was just holding like iron swords and diamond swords, it would be really hard to identify certain characters. It'd be hard to use different kind of fighting styles. I knew I was going to need custom weapons just to get unique fight sequences and to make characters that are a little more identifiable. But I didn't want to just go crazy and make all kinds of weird, bizarre swords that you might see when you look up Minecraft weapon mods. So I wanted to make sure all these sword designs kind of conform to the Minecraft style of the same pixel colors, the same kind of general arrangement of some of the pixels, such as like the wooden handle bits. So some of you might remember at one point I did this I started making a whole bunch of my own, but then I was running out of ideas, so I did this cool, I let the community submit weapon designs, and a lot of those community weapons actually became some very significant weapons. Both Thalius' sword and Deathsinger's sword were both weapons submitted by the community. And then we took those 2D designs, and we modeled them into 3D. Most of that was done by Tiger Stripe. Tiger did almost the entire armory we have of weapons were modeled by him based on the designs provided by either me or the other weapon designers. So we have all these custom weapons, and prior to Songs of War, actually, with Animation Life, I put some of those weapons in Animation Life as practice for Songs of War. Entity's scythe was practiced for Grimm, Alex's dual katanas was practiced for Nika, and we even gave Jalkar's blade to the wolf, even though it never really did anything. One thing we did a bit different with Nika than what we did with Alex was, if you look closely, one of her blades is actually slightly shorter than the other. That way she's able to fight with a single blade if need be. I thought this was a nice touch to show how she's really planning for all these different fighting situations and can adapt to whatever's needed while hunting. Initially, we cast someone else for the part of Lucan, but things didn't work out and we needed another voice actor. We decided to contact Steven, who played this random background necromancer in this episode, as he was really good about turning in his lines, they were really good quality, and he also had a really good Lucan audition. He ended up getting the part perfect for Lucan, but we thought the voice was different enough that we ended up leaving his position as the necromancer as well. So in this scene, it's literally Steven talking to himself. It's interesting to compare Lucan and Nika, as they both are kind of in this together, but for different reasons and with very different approaches. Nika has been doing this on her own and takes a bit of a head-on approach. Lucan, on the other hand, doesn't even really want to do any of this. He's not the ambitious hero who wants to save the world, which I think is what makes him a bit more interesting than many of the protagonists. He has a lot of conflict. He's a bit more of a thief, good with sleight of hand, but definitely not a fighter. Initially, we didn't have Lucan mention taking the necromancer back to the prison. We genuinely just forgot about him in the script, so he would have literally just been lying there in the woods, knocked out. Luckily, we caught that before the script was finalized, and it also added this nice little bit where Lucan almost reveals to Nika that he had been to prison, but then he kind of catches himself. One thing I don't think people will ever quite comprehend is just how much of the series was re-rendered. There are so many problems you'll never even know existed because we fixed them. We'd release a draft, gather feedback on it, and then make a huge list of things we could improve or fix. Many things were extremely subtle, just like a leaf flickering in the wall, a character whose motion wasn't perfectly smooth, but I go down this list bit by bit and make sure as many of these things could be improved until there's almost nothing left as far as feedback. Some weren't even really problems, just improvements, like the final shot in this episode. You can see the original render here, but as I got further along in the series, I improved my fire and smoke effects, so we redid it. The night scene with Thalius and Sen, we wanted to catch up a bit on some of the things we haven't really touched up on since the prologue. One of the important things to me, though, however, was the bit at the beginning. There's the early line Thalius says about how songs have had negative effects on his health. On top of what we already established in the first episode about songs not being all-powerful and how they take a certain amount of mental and physical energy to wield, I also intended them to have some longer-lasting effects on the wielder. Like, you can use these great powers, but you start to feel the strain on your life as you do so. I think this gives the songs that much more mystery and somewhat dangerous feeling we wanted them to have. They aren't just some perfect weapon you can use carelessly, but there's a lot of unknowns about them and consequences to wielding them. The stables fight is where we start really seeing that Jalkar and Grimm aren't in this together because they're friends. They have some fun back and forth, but mostly at the expense of Grimm. There was a really cool shot in here I was really proud of that Zillion animated, where Abigail switches to firing 2 arrows, hoping that will take Grimm down, but he's able to block both. And he does this really cool spin and blocks one of them behind his back while simultaneously switching the scythe to his other hand. You can see how it goes from one hand to the other seamlessly while he twirls it. Similar to Jalkar, Grimm is supposed to be extremely proficient with his scythe maneuvers. It's also where we meet Darlene. This was an opportunity for Abigail to be with one of her friends, Darlene. Abigail lives kind of deep in the Forest of Underwood, and she doesn't really get to interact with too many people, which is why she also knows very little about some of these ancient epics. This was a chance to reveal a lot of things that Mr. Finch had been kind of sheltering her from, such as the Ender Dragon egg being an actual live egg, not just a stone, as it's often referred to. Because the Ender Knights vanished, all the remaining eggs sort of went dormant, and they're now just relics. Unfortunately, Darlene doesn't continue on with her journey. She has her own life and things to take care of. So once again, Abigail and Sam are back on the hunt alone. And right when things are looking to come to another peaceful ending, the mood begins to shift, and we're left with a huge cliffhanger. Thanks everyone for watching till the end of the behind the scenes. In case you haven't heard, we're taking a small mid-season break for about a month or so. The reason we're doing this is we decided the 2-week gaps between episodes was just way too long of a wait. I didn't think it would be such a long... I didn't think 2 weeks would be so long until the series started releasing, and it's like, an episode comes out and it's like, oh man, 2 whole weeks, that's a long time. And by 2 weeks, you've almost kind of forgotten the previous episode. So what we're doing now, we're gonna wait a month and a half or so, and then we're gonna come back with the second half of the season, and it's gonna release weekly. We can't just start releasing weekly now because we actually haven't finished all the remaining episodes. We're still working on them. I think that'll be a lot better. I think it'll be nice having an episode and you only have to wait a week, because some of these episodes aren't really, super exciting or super advancing the plot. Some of these episodes are just kind of an opportunity to meet some characters and to finalize a few things we want to, establish before something bigger happens. So it's a little shame when you wait 2 whole weeks for something it's not filler, but it's also not very exciting. So yeah, so we'll take a little break and we'll finalize season 1, and then we'll return releasing weekly. And trust me that you definitely don't want to miss out on the second half of this season. Without spoiling too much, I would absolutely say the best episodes of the whole season are almost all packed in the second half of this season. So, see you then. I'll see you next episode after the break. Oh, and also keep an eye out on things like our community channel and Discord even, for just other stuff in the meantime. If you check out Black Plasma Community, you can even subscribe to that channel. I release occasional things on that channel that are kind of related to the series. In this break time, I might even be able to put out some kind of live streams, maybe some little bonus content with some of the voice actors or some of the rest of the crew. So keep an eye on that channel. And if you want to kind of discuss the series and engage in things, maybe check out like fan art and post memes and look at memes, definitely join our Discord. Links to Discord's in the description. And with that, I'll see you next episode.